Next, move on to the errors associated in your induction type energy meter. The first one is errors in driving system. The errors in driving system is due to the incorrect magnitude of fluxes. The first error in case of your driving system is incorrect magnitude of fluxes. This incorrect magnitude can be either due to the changes in the current value and voltages. For example, we are having a copper coil which is wounded on the shunt magnet as well as a series magnet. So under overload conditions, what happens? The current through your coils is increased, which in turn increases your flux, which in turn increases your deflecting torque or driving torque. Moreover, under overload conditions, what happens? If your current increases, temperature also increases. Temperature increases since the copper wire has a positive temperature coefficient of resistance. If the temperature increases, resistance also increases, which in turn reduces the current I through the coil. Clear? Under heavy load conditions, what is happening? Your current through the coil is being increased, which in turn increases the temperature. Because copper has positive temperature coefficient of resistance, because of the increase in temperature, your resistance of the coil gets increased, which in turn reduces the current through the coil. So if your current gets reduced, what happens? Your flux gets reduced. That means your driving torque is getting reduced. So because of these changes in the abnormal values of current and voltages, you are getting incorrect magnitude of fluxes, which in turn is affecting your driving torque. And moreover, this incorrect magnitude of fluxes can be due to the change in the resistance of coil as well as the frequencies, because I is equals to V by Z. Z is nothing but V by, since the coil is inductive in nature, Z will be R plus Z into XL. This is nothing but your inductive reactance, which is nothing but R plus J into XL is nothing but 2 pi FL, where F is your frequency. If this is getting changed, if your frequency is getting changed, your impedance is getting changed, which in turn changes the current. If your current through the coil changes, the flux produced by the current through the coil obviously changes, which in turn affects the driving torque. So because of the change in the magnitude of fluxes, which in turn is affecting your driving torque. So that is one of the error in case of your driving system. And the other is incorrect phase angles. So this you can understand. This you can understand after after learning the lag adjustment. Okay. So generally the torque equation is given as torque is directly proportional to K into Vi sin 90 minus delta minus phi. What we are doing is we are adjusting this delta value, or we are assuming this delta equal to 90. But in practice, this delta is not equal to 90 because your pressure coil is highly inductive in nature, and moreover it will have some resistance. So the angle delta is some angle less than 90 degrees and it is not equal to 90 degrees. But we are assuming as delta equal to 90 degrees. But in practice, this delta is not equal to 90 degrees. So we need to adjust this value of delta. So for that purpose, we are doing lag adjustment. Okay. So if the lag adjustment is not properly done, what happens? It affects the phase angles. That means your delta will gets affected, your beta gets affected, and finally your phase angle theta gets affected. So your phase angle adjustment should be correct. Clear? So the phase angle errors are due to improper lag adjustment. So that means lag adjustment is basically adjusting your delta value, and abnormal change in frequencies and change in resistance with temperature. This we have discussed while discussing the incorrect magnitude of fluxes. So if your temperature increases, if your current through the coil increases, temperature gets increased, which is in turn affecting the current through the coil and hence the flux. If the flux get affected, the phase angles also gets affected. So this is the other error associated with your driving system. So the other error in case of your driving system is lack of symmetry in magnetic circuits. If there is no symmetry in the magnetic circuits of both your shunt as well as the series magnet, your aluminum disc will try to creep. Creeping is nothing but even though you don't pass the current through your series coil, your aluminum disc tends to rotate. Your primary coil will be subjected across the supply. Wherever your secondary coil is not connected to any current, your secondary coil, there is no current passing through your secondary coil. Even at that situation also, your aluminum disc tends to rotate. Okay, that is because of your incorrect symmetry in lack of symmetry in magnetic circuits. So the movement of the aluminum disc, even though there is no current passing through the series coil, is nothing but creeping. So creeping is basically due to the lack of symmetry in magnetic circuits. So this is the other error associated with your driving system. So the next error is error in braking system. So for the production of the braking torque, we are making use of this braking system. So change in the strength of the magnet. If the strength of the magnet is getting changed, then the flux produced by the magnet gets changed, and hence which in turn affects the braking torque. So it's because of the change in the strength of the magnet, we are experiencing a torque in braking system. And moreover, change in the disc resistance. If the resistance of the disc changes, what happens? There will be an error in your braking system. And moreover, self-braking effect of series magnetic flux. So this self-braking effect is, this you can understand. See, what exactly self-braking effect is? Under overload conditions, if this is your series magnet and this is your shunt magnet and this is your series magnet, and the current coil is connected in series with your load. So if this is the load, your current coil is always connected in series with the load. Under overload conditions, what happens? Current through this current coil is increased. So overloads in the sense current is more. So if this current is more, flux produced by this current is also high. So the aluminum disc, which is placed in the air gap between the shunt and the series magnet, since the aluminum disc is rotating, what is happening? This aluminum disc is cutting the magnetic flux produced by this current IS. Since this current is more, this flux phi s is also more. So this aluminum disc is cutting this flux, and hence an EMF gets induced in this aluminum disc. And this EMF is nothing but your dynamically induced EMF. Dynamically induced EMF. So this dynamically induced EMF is responsible for the production of this braking torque. In general, the driving torque is produced by statically induced EMF. Initially, your aluminum disc is not rotating. So no rotating parts, and because of the cutting of your flux phi p, an EMF gets induced in your aluminum disc. And similarly the case with your phi s2. That EMF is nothing but your statically induced EMF, but this EMF is due to the rotation. Your aluminum disc is rotating and it is cutting the flux phi s. So this EMF is nothing but your dynamically induced EMF, which in turn is responsible for the production of braking torque. So under overload conditions, what is happening? Your flux phi s is more, and hence your dynamically induced EMF is also more. And therefore your braking torque is also more. Clear? This braking torque is due to the interaction of this flux phi s with the eddy current produced in the aluminum disc. So due to the this dynamically induced EMF is induced in the aluminum disc, which in turn circulates an eddy current. So now braking torque is due to the interaction of this eddy current with the flux phi s. Clear? Because of that you are developing a eddy braking torque. So since this flux is more, your EMF will be more, and hence your eddy current will be more, and your braking torque will be more. So because of this high braking torque, your aluminum disc will show the value less than the actual value under overload conditions. So this is basically happening under overload conditions. Clear? So under overload conditions, your aluminum disc shows the value less than the actual value. So that is because of your self-braking effect. So this self-braking effect is nothing but this mechanism. Clear? So because of the self-braking effect of the series magnetic flux, there is an error in the braking system. And moreover, abnormal friction of moving parts. So if your frictional torque is more when compared to the driving torque, even though you give the supply to your series coil, your aluminum disc won't rotate because your frictional torque is more compared to your driving torque, which will not make your aluminum disc to rotate. So that is the other error in case of your braking system. So coming to the three-phase energy meter. So in case of your three-phase energy meter, the operation is quite similar to your single-phase energy meter, but the basic difference is if you have n conductors, you require n-1 measuring elements. For example, if you are measuring the three-phase, if you are considering a three-phase, three-wire system, so number of phases are 3, that means number of conductors is 3. So 3 minus 1, that is 2, you require 2 measuring elements. That means this is one measuring element, this entire thing is one measuring element, and this entire thing is the second measuring element. So you require 2 measuring elements if you consider a three-phase, three-wire system. Similarly, if you consider a three-phase, four-wire system, that means number of conductors are 4, and hence you require 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. So 4 minus 1 is 3, you require 3 elements. So you require one more element like this. So that is about your three-phase energy meter, and the operation is quite similar to your single-phase energy meter. We'll discuss that. So similar to your single-phase energy meter, your three-phase energy meter also have a pressure coil and a current coil. This is the shunt magnet as well as this is the series magnet. Your pressure coil is placed on the shunt magnet and your current coil is placed on the series magnet, and your pressure coil is connected across the supply. So this is connected across the supply. Clear? So this is connected across the supply. Similarly, your current coil, which is placed on the series magnet, is connected in series with the load. So this is your current coil, which is connected in series with your load. Clear? So, and you'll also have a braking torque and you'll be having 2 discs. Now, the main important thing to consider in case of your three-phase energy meter is the driving torque produced by both the elements when you are supplying same amount of current through the 2 elements, your driving torque must be equal. So, the driving torque, when you are supplying same amount of energy or same amount of power through your 2 elements, your driving torque produced by the 2 elements must be equal. So in order to happen that, we are placing a magnetic shunt on either of the elements in order to have a uniform torque of both the elements. This magnetic shunt always tries to make the 2 driving torques equal when you are supplying the same amount of energy or power. If you are supplying the same amount of power through the 2 elements, the driving torque produced by the 2 elements must be equal. That is taken care by the magnetic shunt placed on either of the elements. Clear? And moreover, this is the adjustable magnetic shunt is provided on both of the elements to balance the torques. In general, we can also have a single disc placed in between the 2 elements, but the disc should be quite larger in nature in order to avoid the interaction of the fluxes of the 2 elements. The fluxes of the 2 elements should never be interacted each other. Clear? So if you use a single disc, the disc should be quite larger in nature in order to avoid the interaction of the 2 elements. So that is about your three-phase energy meter, and the operation is quite similar to your single-phase energy meter. And coming to the phantom loading, so in general what is happening is, when the current rating of the meter under test, if you are testing the meter, in order to test the meter we need to load it. So when you are testing the meter under high ratings, if the meter under test is having high voltage or high current, so general testing is not possible because it requires large amount of current as well as large amount of voltage, which in turn the power is getting wasted. So in order to test the instrument, we need to subject large amount of voltage as well as current through the instrument, which in turn is wastage of power. So in order to avoid the wastage of power while testing the instrument which are highly rated, we go for phantom loading. So phantom loading is also called as fictitious loading, in which loading is done virtually. So let's see how it is. This is the normal direct loading arrangement which we basically do, which consists of a pressure coil. The pressure coil is always connected across the supply and the current coil is always connected in series with the load. This is the basic arrangement for the testing of the instrument. But under high rated instruments, when we are testing the high rated instrument, large amount of power gets wasted. So in order to avoid that, we are going for phantom loading arrangement, in which your pressure coil is connected across the supply. So maximum rated voltage passes through your pressure coil and your current coil is connected across a small DC source. So the entire, since the impedance of this entire circuit is low, maximum or the rated current passes through this circuit. Since the impedance of this circuit is low, so what happens? Maximum or rated current flows through this circuit. That means rated voltage is appeared across the pressure coil and rated current is appearing across your current coil, which is actually taking place in your direct measuring too. So in case of your direct measuring also, rated voltage is applied across your pressure coil and rated current flows through your current coil, which is actually achieved by connecting the pressure coil across the supply and current coil through a small battery. So the impedance of this circuit is low and hence rated current flows through the circuit. So with this, you cannot have wastage of power. Clear? So that loading is nothing but your phantom loading. Thank you.